While most of the American media right now is focused on Trump's tariff, Israel really wants America to go to war with Iran. Wanted war criminal himself, Benjamin Netanyahu, is in D.C. right now meeting with the Trump administration as President Trump sent another aircraft carrier to the Middle East. Americans didn't ask for this. They didn't sign up for this, and they certainly didn't vote for President Trump wanting to go to war with Iran. Meanwhile, this weekend, Israel was caught lying when new videotape had emerged from brutal murder of medical workers from March 23rd, where they gunned down them in cold blood. And now new video has emerged showing that Israel lied about this incident. To make sense of all of this, and President Trump targeting Houthis in a village using drones and then taking to social media to praise this drone strike, is John Kiriakou. He's the host of Declassified, CIA Declassified on Unified Television. He's a CIA whistleblower, and of course he called attention to President Bush's illegal torture by the CIA, and then they went after him for it. And he joins us now. John, great to see you.
My pleasure.
I know you don't pull any punches on this, and we don't either. Here, a few minutes ago on the show, we were talking about Trump's tariffs, and I believe there's a lot of really good things about that. But on this, I'm absolutely furious about it. Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington, D.C., clearly, it seems, pushing the United States towards war with Iran. First, on that point, what do you make of this?
This is something, as you correctly noted, that Benjamin Netanyahu has done on literally every visit to the United States since he first became prime minister. I remember when I was still at the CIA more than 25 years ago, every single time Netanyahu would go to the White House, he would say to whoever happened to be president, you have to attack Iran, you have to attack Iran, you have to attack Iran. And president after president told him, we don't want to go to war with Iran. So here he is again, after all these years, demanding that the United States attack Iran on Israel's behalf, is what it comes down to. I hope, like you do, that Donald Trump has the wherewithal to stand up to this. And you are also right that the American people did not vote for a war with Iran.
It would be, well, first of all, it would be devastating. We've had military leaders on our show who said, this is not a war that we would win. Russia, of course, would come to the defense of Iran. It would be a World War III, global disaster, absolute disaster. I want to get your sense of this, too. This weekend, this new videotape emerged from March 23rd. I just can't get over the fact that we have a wanted war criminal literally in the White House right now meeting with our president when all of these atrocities have unfolded. And they're painting all of this as, it's just Hamas. Oh, it's Hamas. So these medical workers were not Hamas.
No.
And we were told, they lied about this, we were told that they were approaching them suspiciously. And that they're, with lights off, they were very darkened figures. They knew exactly who they were targeting. They were targeting medical officers. And then the videotapes emerged showing that they were lying about it, that their lights were on, and they clearly knew who they were. Then they lined it up and killed them in cold blood. The BBC, playing defense for these guys, the BBC headline said, Israel changes account of their story. No, they didn't change their account. They were lying. The BBC should have just said in their headlines, Israel caught lying about atrocities killing these medics. So when the world just sits back and allows this to happen, and then they said, you know what, then they were Hamas. And that's like the blanket excuse they can use for everything.
That's right.
Everything is Hamas. Everything is Hamas. It's so infuriating, John.
If you believe the Israelis, Hamas is millions strong. And we know that that's ludicrous. It's absurd. What we saw on the 23rd of March with the cold-blooded extrajudicial executions of these EMTs was an obvious war crime. I mean, war crimes generally don't get any more clear, any more obvious than what the Israelis did to these ambulance drivers and attendants. And you're exactly right. The world just kind of shrugs and say, fog of war, Hamas, what are we going to do? No, we have to hold the Israelis accountable. They've committed numerous war crimes since the start of this conflict. Yes, Hamas is a terrorist organization. Yes, it's terrible. Yes, it launched an attack, and those Hamas leaders should be brought to justice. Many of them already have been. But this is a war crime, and heads should roll because of it.
I think that's a key point here because, people in the chat will say, I'm just waiting for Redacted to say something nasty about Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization.
Sure.
Hamas is a terrorist organization that should be held accountable. These medics are not Hamas.
Exactly.
And the children in these schools that were bombed over the weekend, when we talk about that, these children, these beheaded children. I mean, I seeing the images this weekend it's
sickening.
Like it's absolutely sickening. And you look at your own children. How is the world allowing this to happen and normalizing this type of behavior, John? I mean, so there you go. Hamas is a terrorist organization that the United States funded and provided weapons to, and Israel funded and supported and created. So there you go.
That's right.
There's what I think about Hamas.
You're exactly right. And one of the things that I don't understand politically on the American side is the level of support for Israeli actions among American evangelicals. Are they blind to the fact? Do they just not know what the Israelis have done to the Christian communities in Gaza and the West Bank? St. Porphyrius Church, for example, the oldest continually operating Christian church in the Middle East, not only was bombed by the Israelis and destroyed. This church dates to the 7th century, but inside the church, the Israelis killed 14 women and children who had taken refuge there. Why aren't the evangelicals in the United States upset about what Israel is doing to Christians in the occupied territories? I just simply don't understand it. Where's the outrage?
I don't get it either. Why? I don't understand the silence about the Christians that have been killed, not only there, but in Syria as well.
In Syria as well. Mm-hmm.
And it's a deafening. It's an absolute deafening. I mean, I don't understand. My friend of the show, Kevork Almasian, one of the great journalists, was Syrian journalist. He's just spoken about the atrocities as Benjamin Netanyahu just beheaded babies, killed medics, flying into the United States, and the world is just sitting back. And I'm just afraid. Now, you fought against this during your career. You blew the whistle on these atrocities that were being carried out by our government.
Yes.
And they went after you. President Obama went after you, right?
Yes, he did.
Is this going to be, are we normalizing this to the point where this is just going to be allowed to happen and no one will be held accountable for war crimes? Forget the International Criminal Court. Like, it's all just a joke now. It's all theater.
I fear that we are. Ronald Reagan once said that we were a shining city on a hill. And I really believe that we are. At least we should be. And so either we're going to be a country that embraces the rule of law, that embraces human rights and civil liberties, or we're not. We can't be both. We can't just stand by while Israel murders women and children and civilians and EMTs and just shrug our shoulders and at the same time jump up and down when any other country violates international standards of human rights. We have to be consistent on these issues. And so it's time for people to stand up.
There's been a lot of focus on, everyone always throws out, it's October 7th. So that's why we have to kill babies, right? October 7th is the justification they give. Or in Syria, the shooting by Jolani's forces right in the pregnant women's bellies. Like, this is because of October 7th. We got to shoot pregnant women in the bellies. Like, this is ridiculous. You were at the CIA. Mm-hmm. Overwhelming evidence that Israel knew exactly what was coming on October 7th and stood down for 7 hours or more. We know this from the Egyptian security services, intelligence services. From the CIA's perspective, I'm curious your take on that. From the CIA had to know this was coming. And do you believe that there was collaboration between the CIA and Mossad to just stand down and allow this to happen? It allows them to take over all of this land. They needed a catalyst.
I actually do think that was the case. I hate to even express the words out loud, but yeah, I do believe that was the case. American policy has slowly morphed from being the honest broker in the region to being Israel's last line of defense. And so we have given the Israeli government, mostly in the form of Benjamin Netanyahu, carte blanche to do anything he wants. And what that has become, and we see this with the appointment, for example, of cabinet ministers, Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, they can kill anybody they want, wherever and whenever they want. They can sponsor legislation in the Knesset that will result in the expulsion of literally every Palestinian. They can have so-called real estate seminars at synagogues in the United States and Canada, which really are nothing more than seizing Palestinian property and giving it to settlers to take for free or for almost free. Or we can go back to being the honest broker. I don't see any move back to, the good old days. What I see is both Democrats and Republicans deciding from a policy perspective to throw their lot in with Benjamin Netanyahu. And if you criticize Benjamin Netanyahu as a person, or you criticize Netanyahu's policies, you are now labeled as an anti-Semite. I can't tell you how many Jewish friends I have who don't like Netanyahu, who have been told that they're anti-Semites. How we got to this absurdity is a mystery to me.
Well, I think the word has lost all meaning now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I have friends who actually worked for Netanyahu and told me how corrupt he is. I mean, he's a war criminal. I think he's a demon. I think we know he's a war criminal. He's a wanted war criminal. I think he's a demon. And I have friends who worked for him say how corrupt he is. So you can call those people anti-Semites all you want. It's ridiculous.
Right.
We just got word of this, John. Israel, and Glenn Greenwald just posted this a few moments ago. Israel has repeatedly killed Americans in the West Bank, he says. They killed a U.S. journalist, and they first denied it, of course. Then video proved that they did, so they finally admitted it, just like they did with the medics. Now they just shot a 14-year-old American.
That's
Today,
right.
President Trump will
Bank.
hold Netanyahu's... Exactly, in the West Bank. Today, Trump will hold Netanyahu's chair again for him at the table. So again, shot by a 14-year-old American, shot by IDF soldiers, and they knew, and they lied about it, and they covered it up. And we allow this to happen. Americans are just fine with this, and they'll just, you're an anti-Semite. We should kill Americans. We should kill babies. We should kill women. Like, you're an anti-Semite. It just gives them beautiful cover. Or they're all Hamas.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sick of it. I'm really sick of it. I'm just like so furious.
You remember Shireen Abu Akleh, of course, a year ago. And Shireen was the most respected and beloved journalist at Al Jazeera. She was an American citizen, and she was a Greek Orthodox Christian. She was wearing a bulletproof vest that said press on it. She was wearing a helmet that said press on it. And an Israeli sniper shot her in the face. And then at her funeral, a couple of days later, the IDF entered the church while the funeral was taking place. They attacked the pallbearers, forcing them to drop her coffin, and then fired tear gas into the church. And somehow, as Americans, we're all supposed to be okay with that.
I just don't even understand. I mean, this is why there's so many protests in Israel against Netanyahu. Like, this doesn't get played on American press at all.
You're right.
People do not like Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel.
Well, and may I add something on that point? You raise a very important point here. There are dozens of political parties in Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu happens to be the prime minister. He happens to be the leader of the Likud party. But he has never won more than 27% of the vote. Never. You're talking about 73% of Israelis who don't want him to be the prime minister. So why do we support him blindly?
I don't know. This is the great question. It's the great conundrum, John. But, they'll label you an anti-Semite for telling the truth about it.
Yes, indeed.
Meanwhile, Israelis watching this massacre unfolding are also not supportive of this corrupt leader of this country. And yet President Trump is going to hold his chair again. And many of these MAGA influencers President Trump can do no wrong at all, will just go blindly along with, funneling billions of dollars into Israel, taking us to war in Iran. It's just absolutely disgusting. I hope people can wake up on this. John, thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to vent today, because this has just been an infuriating weekend on this subject.
My pleasure. Thanks for educating so many people.
Oh, thank you, John. Great to see you.
My pleasure.
Hey, I want to thank our friends over at Rumble Premium, by the way. Rumble defends free speech, and You can sign up for Rumble Premium for just $10, or very, very cheap. You can save $10 off their annual plan. So when major advertisers are conspiring to pull their dollars, even brands like Dunkin' Donuts turn their backs, claiming that Rumble had a right-wing culture. But we're not here to fit a mold at all. We're here to defend free expression. And we're proud to partner with Rumble Premium. Completely ad-free experience. Exclusive benefits for viewers and creators. You'll find exclusive content from our friends like Russell Brand, Dr. Disrespect, Timcast, the Mug Club, all of them. Your voice matters. So when you join Rumble Premium, for a limited time, you get $10 off their annual plan using the promo code Redacted. Just visit rumble.com/premium slash redacted and claim your discount today. Using the promo code Redacted, get $10 off. And I was just saying there, that Glenn Greenwald had just posted that a few minutes ago. Well, he just now posted this a few seconds ago. Benjamin Netanyahu just had the chair pulled out for him for President Trump. Once again. Now, he did that a few months ago, and he just did it again.
We will link to this in the newsletter tomorrow. We will discuss this as the week goes on. It looks to me like it is a begrudging gesture, and again points to the fact that something's not right with Trump's relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. Before he took office, he posted a video by Jeffrey Sachs calling him an evil person. We know that's true. What's happening? What is behind this? Why twice in 2 months of the second Trump term is Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed at the White House? Why is it that urgent? President Trump is about to embark on a trip to the Middle East. He's going to start in Saudi Arabia. Did Benjamin Netanyahu have some threats to deliver in person, perhaps? The fact
he wanted to get ahead
that
of this Saudi Arabia trip, right? Because
definitely,
what relationship are we going to have with Saudi Arabia? He wants to run in front of that as much as he can right now, and he wants us to be collaborating on a war in Iran. Clearly,
right. Yes, clearly, and the fact that we don't know if he was held to account for the murder of these medics. We don't know if he was held to account by the murder of the young American boy in the West Bank. We don't know that. We want that to be the case. And so what is behind it?
Calvin,
right? And it's a constant assault on our psyches to see this as Americans and be told it's fine if you're not okay with it, you're an anti-Semite.
Oh, people are that ship has sailed. That word now has no meaning because they've destroyed the meaning of that word, and they're conflating your support of Israel
Clayton,
for
you're
Jews.
You're talking about this as if it's past tense, but the Senate last week held a hearing in order to put into law an expanded definition of anti-Semitism. So it may have lost meaning in Twitter arguments, but it is expanding its hold on the American people's freedom of speech.
No, you're right about that. I just think, our friend journalist Dan Cohen points out that when people throw this term anti-Semitism around, they're conflating their support for Israel with your support of Judaism. And or they don't understand. They certainly don't understand the difference. Anyway, right. I wanted to put, Calvin Johnson points out, Johnstone in our chat says Netanyahu would be ousted if not for October 7th. Yes. Oh, absolutely, 100%. And therefore, by continuing this war, you continue to hold on to power. And he would be ousted immediately if it weren't for this. Clearly, many Jewish journalists who've been on our show have said that and reiterated that.
It is incumbent on us to continue to be vigilant about our freedom of speech because the Trump administration has expanded our rights to say things about most racial groups now. So we can say things that are critical of Black Lives Matter. We can talk about the actual statistics about violence inside the United States. We can talk about crime inside of Hispanic communities. But we are being removed our ability to be critical of Israel under the guise of anti-Semitism. So in many ways, this could be worse than we had it under the Biden years. And we can't stand for this. And it's terrifying me because we're seeing immigrants arrested for being critical of Israel. How long until that comes to American citizens?
Yeah, American
How long
citizens and journalists.
Somebody becomes arrested for criticizing Israel? And who will it be? And will our Constitution stand for it?
Right. I mean, J.D. Vance in the White House said to Keir Starmer's face about the UK's clampdown on censorship and going after journalists, and Keir Starmer like backed up and said no, and it's absolutely 100% true. So the White House has been vehement in their opposition to censorship all throughout Europe. What Germany has been doing to journalists on clamping down on free speech over there, but here in the United States we're moving in the opposite direction under this. So
you know what I did this weekend as I'm watching these horrible images of death of families in Gaza and in the West Bank, and then now the report of the young man who died in prison in the West Bank, who was starved to death. He was 17. He's a child. And I thought, I'm going to look for the literature that would tell someone that's fine. What are the books that a Zionist supporter would read that would tell you that's fine? I want to know. I want to read those books. You tell me how, because maybe that will help. Maybe I can just
there's
adopt
a lot of propaganda.
No,
you have to read the propaganda in order to be brainwashed in that way.
I want to know what you have to read to feel like, cool, we kill their kids. Fine. Totally good. Tell me what that is, and I'm not going to say I'm going to promote it, but I want to know. I want to know how you're okay with that. What I need to understand. What I'm missing
Sunshine in
here.
our chat says your info is wrong. Okay, if you say something like that about Israel, or about Netanyahu, then can you just be specific? Like when you say your info is wrong, like you're just shouting into a chat room about something. Be specific. You can say no.
But maybe share right info.
Yeah, or just share correct. If we're wrong about Netanyahu or whatever, then just be specific and say no. Netanyahu had nothing to do with October 7th. He didn't know any information about October 7th. That's a lie. And then please present your evidence. Just show us the evidence, like Thomas Sowell would say. Show us the evidence.